Welcome to the Thundercloud. I am incredibly tired, so I do apologize in advance if I'm not my usual spry self. But we did have some pretty big day in the NFL, so we're gonna go over that. First and foremost, the Packers made the biggest signing of the day, bringing back veteran Chris Brooks, running back, to a 2-year deal worth 4.85 million. I believe he's got 90 some carries in his career, or 90 each year. He's a great pass protector. Um, can receive a little bit. He's like a rotational piece to a running back core. He did not let. I believe there's a stat. He didn't have a ton of blocks last year, but I think there was 26 block attempts that he had, and he did not allow a sack. So, great little blocking running back, and you certainly do need those role players. And it's cheap too. It does make it so we don't necessarily have to draft a running back or sign one or take one in the UDFA. Which we'll definitely take one in UDFA for sure. But it takes a little pressure off of having to use a draft pick, especially in a year where we don't have many draft picks yet. The real big news of the day was a trade between the St. Louis Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs. Seeing Trent McDuffie, cornerback, who is playing on his fifth-year option, I believe 25 turning 26. Expect to see him get into a long-term deal shortly, probably 4-year extension worth the moon. Anyways, Trent McDuffie goes to the Rams from the Chiefs for a first-rounder this year, the 29th overall pick, a fifth and a sixth-rounder this year as well, and finally a 2027 third-rounder, which pretty good pick. Next year's draft class is going to be stockpiled. Now, Trent McDuffie, to me, I'm going to say it, it's an overpay in my opinion. It definitely is an overpay. I think it's a great haul for the Chiefs. Now, you're getting a very good player. You're not getting what I consider to be an elite player, but you're getting a very good player at a decent age. And the Rams are used to not having first-round draft picks, but that's not true this year. They made that deal with the Atlanta Falcons last year for that James Pierce guy who just got arrested. So they do have the 13th overall pick in this year's draft. So there's obviously ways I'd look for the Rams to probably be a team that trades back a bit. I mean, they could definitely just stand where they're at if they want, but if they want to kind of stockpile more picks, then having that 13th overall pick certainly makes this trade a lot easier. But what does Trent McDuffie bring? He's not much of a ball hawk. In fact, he's kind of the opposite of a ball hawk. He has, 3 interceptions in his career, which is, 56 games. Looks like he plays quite a bit out of the slot, I would say, just based on the tackle numbers that he has. He was an All-Pro once, so, that is impressive. The picks are hard. But the Rams have a huge hole. The Rams have a huge hole in their secondary, so it makes sense for the Rams, especially now knowing they've got the 13th overall pick. It's a trade that we can't grade. We can never grade trades right away. We're going to have to see kind of where they end up down the road. Last year, he was ranked, just going to see here, 11th best cornerback as per PFF, or 12th best. So definitely a very good corner, and apparently has shown signs of being an elite one as an all-pro. But I wonder, does he work more out of the slot? Just trying to see here. Probably plays all over, based in my opinion. His tackling grades are exceptional, though. 83 per PFF, and that's third for a cornerback. So that's a good get. We'll see. We'll see how those draft picks for Kansas City amount to. It does give Kansas City now, some ammo to start doing a bit of a real rebuild, which I think they need, and potentially, adding weapons across the offensive line and the wide receiving room as well. This is a report that kind of proves Diana Rossini's a cunt that doesn't really know what the hell she's talking about. She reports that teams have inquired about the Broncos quarterback Jared Stidham, and she says to be a starting quarterback after what they saw in the AFC title game. Were we watching the same AFC title game where he just barely moved the ball 130 yards? Like, are we fucking kidding? We're talking about Jared Stidham as a potential starter. I'll say, Diana Rossini, shame on you for reporting this. You are absolutely wrong. There is no chance in hell Jared Stidham is a starter unless significant injuries happen during the season. Or he goes to the Jets. This is interesting. So Mekhi Becton, who has only ever had one good year, that being when he was with the Eagles playing right guard as a 6'7", towering little dwarf there, was cut by the Chargers today. Saves them $10 million. He was one of the worst pass blockers in the league this year. So definitely a guy a lot of people wanted last year, a guy I said to stay away from. Jonathan Allen being released. I think this is the second offseason in a row. Vikings needed to do it to save some salary cap. It saves them $6.5 million. He had only 3.5 sacks last year in 17 games. With Washington, he had 3 sacks. So they're going to look at him and his performance like, oh, he had 9 sacks one year, 7.5 one year, 5.5. But as you can kind of see, it's kind of dwindling and going down each year. So a team's going to want him just based on the upside. I do not know what he does against the run. I'm not going to pretend to know. But I'm guessing if your rating was 53.2 last year, that indicates that you are below average. Now, again, that's just PFF, which I'm not saying is great or anything like that. But it looks like if you're going to pay money for Jonathan Allen, then you're a fucking idiot. Kind of an interesting release for the Chargers, though, is Will Dissly. It's just not one that I was necessarily had on my radar here. I just want to kind of check him out and just kind of see, because I think he's a pretty good tight end, isn't he? Wasn't very good last year. Only started 2 games. He had 97 yards receiving last year, 481 the year before. Only receives, maybe 200 or 300 per year. He's obviously not going to be a huge touchdown guy. The most he's ever had is 4. I'm just interested to know if this guy is a guy that can block a little bit, because I really do want the Packers to not bolster their tight end room a ton, but I would like it to get a blocking tight end. So this would be a guy that would potentially fit the bill. Get him on a 1-year deal or something like that. He's not going to be overly expensive. Yeah, it looks like he's a really good run blocking tight end. So this would be a guy I would be very interested in signing to a 1-year deal worth not a whole lot of money, and he can battle it out for our second tight end, or just give us a change of pace tight end, because Luke Musgrave cannot block. Tucker Kraft sure as fuck can. Speaking of tight ends, the Steelers released Jonnu Smith, who had that fluke year with Miami the year before last, and he was absolutely shit this year. Looked very terrible. One of the weak points of the Steelers, and I'm glad they moved on from him. Saves him $7 million against the cap. I have absolutely no interest in this guy whatsoever. He can head down to Ohio State with Arthur Smith next year, because we don't want him here in Green Bay. And finally, we've got Stephon Diggs being released by the Patriots. Again, we said this was going to happen. None of us are confused. It saves quite a bit of money. I don't know the exact dollar amount, but I do know it's going to save quite a bit of money for the Patriots, who sounds like are matching up pretty good with the Philadelphia Eagles to land A.J. Brown. They've got a ton of cap space that they can work with. It appears they're willing to give up a first rounder for A.J. Brown as well, so I guess it potentially depends on who else is involved, because the Patriots don't necessarily have a great first rounder since they went to the Super Bowl. It's really a second rounder, if you ask me. So we'll see what transpires there. It almost seems certain at this point in time that A.J. Brown will be traded this offseason, in my opinion. But I'm just trying to see what else we've got here. I know NHL had a bunch of trades today. I'm not really familiar with any of the trades, so I'm not going to go over it. I do know that it looks like the Leafs are not making the playoffs this year. I did put the Leafs on tonight for the first time all season. So hockey coverage is officially canceled in the playoffs. Kind of interesting. The Oakland Athletics GM basically said they would let Kyler Murray rejoin them. Because he was drafted by the Athletics before he was drafted by the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I don't think he's going to jump ship to baseball. That would be a hard jump to make. He was a pretty good pitcher there, so pitching would be something I would consider easier to come into than hitting if you've had a long layoff. You know what I mean? Especially since he does throw the ball as a quarterback. But again, I think Kyler Murray is going to stay right here with the Minnesota Vikings this year. But yeah, that's it for today. Just our daily check-in. I do not think I missed anything. Sage, was there anything that you feel I should have covered that I didn't cover before I let you get back to one little piece in heaven or whatever it is that your show is? All right. That's it. That's a wrap, folks. Have a good night and see you guys tomorrow.